All right, welcome back, and thank you for joining me in the last part of the Gods of the Divine Nine series. If you haven't watched the last videos, I recommend that you do. But I would like to reiterate that the main question that I am proposing throughout this presentation is if it's okay to be a part of a secret society like a Black Greek letter organization and a Christian at the same time. Of course, the answer is no, and I am here to prove it. I understand that there are videos of deceived people that believe that being in a Black Greek letter organization and a Christian is okay, but it's not. Just because your organization says they pride themselves in quote unquote serving their community does not mean you are a Christian organization. Buddhist people do community service. Nonetheless, as a Christian, you are not saved by works. You are saved by faith. So whenever a argument like that, such as community service, is an excuse, that excuse is vain. Anyway, let's us move on to the gods of the Black Greek sororities. The first of the Black Greek sororities is Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, or the Pretty Girls of AKA. One of the nicknames and sacred symbols for the AKAs is the ivy leaf. This is going to be our first clue into who is the god of the Pretty Girls of AKAs. Now, the ivy leaf is not only a sacred symbol for the sorority, but it is the sacred symbol for the Bacchus, or in Greece, Dionysus. Now, one thing to note is that the Bacchus is where we get the word baccalaureate. And it is also why the group of universities up north, Harvard, Princeton, Penn, Cornell, Brown, are called the Ivy League. And this is why the spirit behind many of the colleges and university systems is the spirit of Bacchus. Bacchus was the god of wine, of sex, of ecstasy, of festivals, of rituals, of madness, and of the theater. When you go to these college campuses, specifically when one deals with these fraternities and sororities, the main thing they are truly known for is getting drunk, partying, doing drugs, having sex, and even doing orgies. And I do not care what anybody says. Look, I was a part of these fraternities, right? I was a part of the secret societies. I went to a college, a 4-year university, and look, that's what a lot of the focus is about, sadly. Concerning the Bacchus, though, those deeds that I stated were what the initiates of the Bacchanalian or Dionysian rites would do, except on a grander and even on a more public scale, right? And I'll quote, "Wild orgiastic sex was definitely on the menu, as were the wild animals that were hunted down, torn to pieces, and eaten raw. In some stories, the same fate awaited any men they happened to come across, showing even cannibalism." Now, the Bacchus and his worship had a cult on the island of Delphi, which is where Apollo's cult was located at. Apollo, who we know as the god of the Noobs, right, or the god of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, shared this site with his younger brother. Who was Apollo's younger brother? Dionysus, a.k.a. the Bacchus. Every year at the onset of winter, the sanctuary on Parnassus was given over to the followers of the god of wine and revelry, which was the Bacchus or Dionysus. The latter, known as the followers known as the Maenides, or which is translated to the raving ones, who would work themselves into a frenzy through wine and dance and having orgies. They roamed over the hillsides in bands, dressed in fawn skins and wearing ivy wreaths on their heads. Each of them carried a thyresis, which is a long stick wrapped in vine leaves. Now, the thyresis is very similar to what the dean of pledging in the sororities would be holding when they're leading the girls to their probate or their new member presentation. Now let us take a look at the coat of arms of Alpha Kappa Alpha. On their coat of arms, we see the lamp, the atlas, the dove, and the scales of judgment. We know that the lamp, if you watch the video of the fraternities, we know that the lamp, of course, represents the shiner, and consequently enough, Dionysus or the Bacchus was known as the shiner or the great enlightener. Therefore, 2 points for the Bacchus in the mystery schools of Alpha Kappa Alpha. Now let's focus on the image of Atlas. Atlas was a titan or a giant in ancient Greece that held up the celestial sphere or heaven. He was also known as the first king of Atlantis. To my main point, this is not a symbol of the God of the Bible at all. It's actually a symbol of a hybrid giant which the Most High commanded Israel to get rid of. Yet, it's funny how people think it's okay to be a follower of Christ and a part of these organizations, right? This leads me to the symbol of the dove, which is for the divine mother goddess. You have Semiramis, but then you have another mother goddess whose name is Basilia, who was considered to be the mother of all gods. Now, in the story of Atlas, according to Plato, Atlas was raised by his sister, Basilia, the mother goddess. Another funny thing in the organization of AKAs, the title of the president is called the Basileus, right? Now let's go to the last image, which is the scale of judgment. This symbol is associated with a few gods, but for the AKAs, the god is Minos. Minos was the son of Zeus and Europa, which is where we get the word Europe from. Now, in other cultures, Minos was also known as Mizraim, the ancient name for Egypt. Now, according to myths, Minos was held in high esteem by the Olympian gods that they made him the judge of the dead, in which we have the scale of judgment as a symbol. Minos was also a king of Crete, where he would send 7 young boys and 7 young girls into a labyrinth or a maze, where they would be eaten by the Minotaur, or the bull-headed god or horned god. With the labyrinth in mind, this makes me bring up another piece of evidence from the rituals of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And before I go into this, I want to bring up the Bible and what the word says not to do. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 6 through 12, it states, "Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. Be not ye therefore partakers with them, for ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the Lord, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret." And then let's bring up Matthew chapter 6, verse 7. "But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions, as the heathens do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking." Please keep this in mind when I show you the rituals of Alpha Kappa Alpha. In the rituals of Alpha Kappa Alpha, one thing the initiates have to do is repeat a phrase 7 times. And that phrase is this: "Life is a winding maze and intricate labyrinth through which we must wander all our days." This is in contradiction to what the Bible says, but it is in line with the doctrine of Minos and the mother goddess Basilia. The labyrinth was a symbol of not only royal power, but of the crossroads, or the path to the underworld. You will see in some of the mystery religions, that they use the labyrinth and meditate to come from the physical world to the spiritual world at the eye or the center of the labyrinth. Nonetheless, remember in the story of Minos, he would send young children to be sacrificed into the labyrinth, where they would be devoured by the hybrid beast called the Minotaur. Besides the Minotaur, the labyrinth was usually associated with the mother goddess. Hecate, the mother goddess of witchcraft that I mentioned before when I was talking about the fraternities, Hecate actually had the labyrinth as a symbol for her. It is called Hecate's Wheel, and this depiction is of a labyrinth serpent around a central spiral. The labyrinth snake is representative of rebirth and renewal and relates to the three faces of Hecate. To relate this back to the mystery religions of the Minoans, the labyrinth was usually found accompanying the mother goddess of the Minoans, who is Basila. When it comes to the AKAs, their god happens to be not only the Bacchus, but they are also venerators of Minos and the divine mother goddess who guards the labyrinth. Now, the Reds of Delta Sigma Theta have no shame on who they worship. We need to look no further than to their coat of arms. On their coat of arms, they have the torch of Hecate, the laurel wreath that represents Daphne, right, the nymph that Apollo loved or lusted after. And then right at the top of their coat of arms, they have the picture of the mother goddess Minerva, or how she was known in Greece, Athena. So, Delta Sigma Theta, tell me, who is your god? Who is your god? First, I want to touch up on the torch. Remember, the torch is a symbol for Hecate, the mother goddess of the underworld. But remember, a lot of the gods and goddesses are the same, just as they get transferred from different cultures. They just have a different change of name, a different modification to them, right? So when you look up images of Minerva, you'll see her usually brandishing the staff, but you also can find depictions of Minerva holding the torch. The fact that the shield of Delta Sigma Theta has an image of Minerva should show that they do not worship the God of the Bible. Minerva was the Virgin Mother Goddess of wisdom, war, medicine, poetry, weaving, and governmental affairs. Minerva in ancient Greece was known as Athena, and in ancient Canaan was known as Anat, who was the lover of Baal or Baal, who we also know is Nimrod. Now, something I want to bring up is that the gang sign or the hand sign of the Reds is the pyramid, right? Or the rock, right? Ho! The Egyptian version of Minerva was the mother goddess Neith. She was said to be the first and the prime creator who created the universe and all, and that she governs how it functions. She was the goddess of the cosmos, fate, wisdom, water, mothers, childbirthing, hunting, weaving, and war. In my theory, she was probably most likely a Egyptian perverted version of Eve from Genesis. Now, another name for the deltas are the Reds, and those are actually their colors or their gang colors. But one thing that Neith, the Egyptian version of Minerva, was always depicted with was wearing the red crown. Along with the pyramid, the symbol of the pyramid is just a symbol for power and belief. This is another hypothesis I can't prove within their ritual books, but for sure we know that the god for the ladies or the Reds of Delta Sigma Theta is Minerva, as they plainly put this figure on their coat of arms. And I guarantee if I look in their ritual books deeply or somehow find or talk to a detractor, They'll probably tell me something there too. Now, when it comes to Zeta Phi Beta, we see that it's not much to go over with Zeta Phi Beta. As we see from what we already know, on their coat of arms, they venerate the mother goddess with the double torches of Hecate and the dove for the mother goddess, whether it be Hecate or Asherah or Semiramis. But in their ritual book, it states that during the initiation process, the initiates are told by their basilisks that Zeta has been written on your hearts and minds. You are now ready to receive the light of Zeta. Now, who is Mystery Zeta? The mother goddess, as I went over earlier. In the Christian's life, we live by Psalms 119, verse 11. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. Who is the light of the world? That's Jesus Christ. But to the ladies of Zeta Phi Beta is mystery goddess Zeta, who they hide and wrote on their hearts. Now, the ladies of Sigma Gamma Rho is the most interesting out of all the sororities, and they also have a special place in my heart. No, I'm just playing. But however, I did save them for last due to them having the most interesting symbols on their coat of arms. They have a plethora of symbols that we need to dissect to figure out who their god or gods may be. We have the fasces, the axe with the bundle sticks, the torch, the skull and crossbones, the caduceus cane, the lamp, and the feather. Now, the reason I did say that they were special is because the Sigma Gamma Rhos had a special relationship with my former gang, Kappa Alpha Psi. Their relationship amongst the Black Greek organization's culture is called Indie Love, for they were both founded at Indiana universities, and the Kappas would protect the ladies of the SG Rhos. Another thing to take heed to is the use of the canes for both organizations. Now, according to what was taught during my initiation process, the Kappas allowed the SG Rhos to use their canes for protection due to the fact that during the early 1900s, across the street from Indiana University was where the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan resided. In short, the canes were a gift to the SG Rhos from the Noops. This brings us to the symbol of the caduceus cane. Now, the caduceus cane is the staff of the messenger god of Greece, Hermes, or how he was known in Rome, Mercury. This cane was a symbol for the planet Mercury as well as alchemy. Another meaning behind the symbol is for the scroll, or writing and eloquence, which makes sense why the Kappas have the cane as a sacred object, for it is a sign for, according to what was taught to me, for being a gentleman, as well as when we go through our initiation process, we reach a level called scrollers. And that's when we are supposed to be blessed with our canes, which in color they are green and white and not crimson and cream. I also want to call to remembrance that the Kappa's gods is Apollo, and the Kappas gave the SG Rhos the cane as a gift. In the story of how Hermes got the caduceus cane, it was actually a gift from a certain god. In the Homeric hymn to Hermes, Apollo got enchanted by Hermes' music from his lyre, and Hermes kindly gifted it to Apollo. Now, Apollo, in return, gave Hermes the caduceus as a gesture of friendship. Now, remember, the reason why the staff has serpents on them, it is because Apollo slayed Python. So Apollo, the god of Kappa Alpha Psi, gifted Hermes, a god of the SG Rhos, the cane with the serpent on it. And perhaps this is also the reason why the cane is in the pattern of the candy cane. And that's because it subliminally alludes to the image of the serpent wrapping around the cane, and not because they love candy. Now, you do have the medical staff that was a symbol for Asclepius, who was a son of Apollo. Now, the rod of Asclepius is the same symbol except just missing one snake. Even though historians try to act as if these are two completely different symbols, it's not. Now, the symbol was not worshipped just in the Greco-Roman mystery schools, but it was also worshipped in ancient Sumeria as the symbol for the god Ning-Ish-Zeta, who had a staff with serpents wrapped around it as well. Now, Ning-Ish-Zeta was the god of the serpents and the Mushu, which is a type of cherubim. The name Ning-Ish-Zeta is translated to the Lord of the Good Tree. Now, where have we heard about a good tree and a serpent? Now, if one reads that good book, aka that love letter from the bosom of the Most High, you would know that Satan, who was a serpent, deceived Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, sinning against the commandments of the All-Highest. And to add on why the castratus or the rod of Asclepius is a symbol for medicine, snakes back in the mystery schools were viewed as having divine healing powers in certain mystery schools, right? And that did not only come from the worship of the serpent in the antediluvian or the pre-flood world, but it came during the time of Moses as well, while Israel was in the wilderness. For those who read the scriptures, in Numbers chapter 21, the verses 5 through 9, it states this: "And as people spake against God and against Moses, wherefore have ye brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loatheth this light bread. And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died. Therefore the people came to Moses and said, We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against thee. Pray unto the Lord that he take away the serpents from us. And Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said unto Moses, Make thee a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that every one that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live. And Moses made a serpent of brass, and put it upon a pole. And it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, which he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived." Here is proof of the serpent having quote-unquote divine healing powers. But in reality and in proper context, the Most High had the power to heal the people and did that because they followed his commandments and not because the serpent had healing power. The Most High told them what to do, and whoever listened lived. Point blank period, simple. However, human beings, especially Israel, had always forgotten the glory and power of the Most High, and here is where we first see the worship of the brazen serpent Cain, aka the rod of Asclepius, in the post-flood world. In 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 4, it states this: "He removed the high places and brake the images, and cut down the groves, and brake in pieces of the brazen serpent that Moses had made. For unto those days the children of Israel did burn incense to it, and he called it Nehushtan." All in all, the Cain of both Sigma Gamma Rho and Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated is just a representation of Nehushtan, or the rod of Asclepius, or the castratus Cain, and the divine serpent worship. Next, we already know that the fasces represent the creator of all civilizations, as well as the torch being the torch for the mother goddess of the underworld, or her wheel, or labyrinth. Then, of course, the lamp is a symbol for the enlightener. But then we have this feather. This feather is actually a symbol for the mother goddess, the Egyptian mother goddess Ma'at, who was the goddess of justice, the goddess of truth, and the universe and seasons. Just like Hecate being the goddess of the underworld, Ma'at was also the goddess and judge, aka the weigher of the soul. And in the Kemetic mystery schools, her feather was the measure that determined whether the souls of the dead man would reach the paradise of the afterlife successfully. Now, in other versions, Ma'at was the feather as the personification of truth, justice, and harmony. Therefore, that feather is the feather for Ma'at. The axe is is a symbol for the mother goddess as well. The torch, the stars, the lamp. We can go down this whole list, right? Now, the last symbol is the symbol of the skull and crossbones. You see this symbol in many secret societies because it is a symbol of dying then to reveal the secrets. The skull and crossbones image actually comes from ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt, where the pharaoh's tombs would have the pharaoh carved in the top with the two crossing scepters beneath. Remember, the pharaohs would meet Ma'at, who was the weigher of the souls, in their mythical afterlife. So again, the god of Sigma Gamma Rho is the goddess Ma'at, as well as the divine serpent. To reiterate the whole purpose of this series and presentation, it is to show people the true spirit behind these organizations. Again, this is a truth channel, a Christian, Bible-believing Christian channel. So if you think I'm biased, obviously I am. Some of them talking about the people who make videos talking about they could be Christian and Greek at the same time, or a part of secret societies at the same time, try to tell you that that's okay. But we are commanded to try those spirits. And throughout this presentation, I tried those spirits, and we see that they practice and venerate the gods of the ancient mystery schools. I do not care if you know a pastor that is a part of these secret societies. I, too, know so-called pastors that pledge, and they are blaspheming and sinning against the God of the Bible. Just like Aaron in Exodus chapter 32 making the golden calf, even though he was a priest, it does not make it right, and he does not have the authority to change the laws of the Most High, and he was punished for it. So will those pastors who pledge, they will have to answer to the Most High at the day of judgment, lest they repent. Also, I know many people who will still try to justify their allegiance to these organizations, but we must remember what Christ straight up says in Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. And in this case, most of these people who join secret societies hold more loyalty to the gang, right? Or to the secret societies than to the God of the Bible. They rep the colors every week. They'll go to church. If they go to church on Sunday, it's just out of, tradition. 4, if they truly love God, the God of the Bible, they would keep his commandments. And remember the first commandments, which states, "For thou shalt worship no other God." Understand, when you pledge or vow to these organizations, you are binding your soul with the God of that organization and its members. This is why, at least in Kappa Alpha Psi, they would use the phrase "in the bond" for multiple occasions. That's because they tied their souls or binded their souls to the bond of, or to the God of Kappa Alpha Psi. Now, in Numbers chapter 30, verse 2, it confirms my statement by saying, if a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeded out of his mouth. We make ourselves servants or slaves to whatever we vow or pledge an oath to. The cheap excuse of wanting to be a part of an organization to uplift your community is cheap and lame. Again, You do not have to bind your soul to do good for your community. It is nothing wrong with being, how they say, a GDI, or a gosh darn individual. The heart of the matter is that people who use this excuse really just want to be a part of a gang, and that's it. The cheap excuse of being a part of an organization that can potentially give you power and respect and special networking connection is once again lame and cheap. Do you need to be a part of a group in order to be successful? Is it not God who opens and closes doors for you? Is it not God who orders your steps? Is it not God who gave you your gift? Besides all of that, you're pledging your soul to mammon and false idols, all for the sake of trying to gain power and respect? That's vanity. Matthew chapter 16, verse 26 states, "For what is a man profited, if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his souls?" Do you not know that your soul, your heart, your faith is precious to the Most High who created you? Do you not know that He is stronger than the gods of Egypt? Then why do we want to go back to Egypt and serve their gods? Why do we want to go back to Babylon and serve their gods? We must serve God, the All-Highest, in spirit and in truth. We must cleave unto Jesus, and He will save you. Just like myself, even though I tied my soul to the bond of Kappa Alpha Psi, Jesus cut those cords when I put my faith in Him. Psalms chapter 129, verse 4. The Lord is righteous. He hath cut asunder the cords of the wicked. He has that power. Lose those bonds to those organizations and secret society and get right with Christ. For the mystery has been revealed through Jesus, and you don't have to get in the cut. You don't have to, go through a whole hazing process, pledge a false oath, or light candles. All you need to do is just put your faith in the Word, which is Christ Jesus. Give God your heart and pledge to Him, and serve Him only, and He will provide for you, not the false gods. Joshua chapter 23, verse 5 through 16. And the Lord your God, He shall expel them from before you, and drive them from out of your sight. And ye shall possess their land, as the Lord your God hath promised unto you. But ye therefore very courageous to keep and to do all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, that ye turn not aside therefrom, to the right hand or to the left, that ye come not among these nations, these that remain among you, neither make mention of the name of their gods, nor cause to swear by them, neither serve them, nor bow yourselves unto them, but cleave unto the Lord your God, as ye have done unto this day. For the Lord hath driven out from before you great nations and strong, but as for you, no man hath been able to stand before you unto this day. One man of you shall chase 1,000, for the Lord your God, He it is that fighteth for you, as He hath promised you. Take good heed, therefore, unto yourselves, that ye love the Lord your God. Else, if ye do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them, and go in unto them, and they to you, know for a certainty that the Lord your God will no more drive out any of these nations from before you. But they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until ye perish from off this good land which the Lord your God hath given you. And behold, this day I am going the way of all the earth, and ye know in all your hearts and in all your souls that not one thing hath failed of all the good things which the Lord your God spake concerning you. All are come to pass unto you, and not one thing hath failed thereof. Therefore it shall come to pass, that as all good things are come upon you, which the Lord your God promised you, so shall the Lord bring upon you all evil things, until He have destroyed you from off this good land, which the Lord your God hath given you. When ye have transgressed the covenant of the Lord your God, which he commanded you, and have gone and served other gods, and bowed yourself to them, then shall the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and ye shall perish quickly from off the good land which he hath given unto you. Look at the black community. In college, too many so-called black people have bowed themselves and pledged oaths to false idols. And you wonder why the black community, the so-called black community, is in such a state that we see today. You have been warned. Repent and worship the Lord, the true and living God, and not the false gods. He wants us out of these organizations so he can put in place the promise that he has created for us. So peace.